romance, Beanie said. Me too, said Kiko with a tiny sigh. Gooney Bird waited a moment, but no one else said anything, so she continued the story. In the evening, the farmer, Mr. Henry Scheidenhofen, came to the meadow and called the cow. It was time to take her into the barn to be milked. The cow liked the farmer, who was soft-spoken and kind, and she liked the barn, which was airy and dark and smelled of hay, and she liked being milked, which felt a little like sneezing, something that needs to be done from time to time. So she cheerfully followed the farmer when he called her. Catman cheerfully followed the cow. Mrs. Clara Scheidenhofen, the farmer's wife, was feeding the chickens when her husband walked past leading the cow. My word, she said. Look, there's a cat with no tail following the cow. So there is, said her husband. Perhaps he's hungry. We should feed him. They tried to take Catman into the house to be fed, but he refused to leave the cow. So they brought him a bowl of tuna fish and gave it to him in the barn. When Mr. Scheidenhofen milked the cow, he squirted some into the dish for Catman. That night, Catman, who was by now completely and hopelessly in love, curled up beside the cow and slept. He has slept there ever since. During the day, he goes to the meadow with the cow, and while the cow eats wildflowers, Catman chases field mice and butterflies, listens to the buzzing of flies, and smells the warm and pleasant odor of cowhide. Gooney Bird paused. Questions? She said. Kiko raised her hand. I was waiting for the bad part. I was going to cover my ears. What bad part? Gooney Bird asked. You know, where the cow ate Catman. Gooney Bird looked surprised. The cow didn't eat Catman. The cow hardly notices Catman is there. The cow eats wildflowers. But you said, Kiko began. Yeah, you said, Malcolm called. Mrs. Pigeon stood up. Remember the title of the story, children? She said. They all tried. How a Cow Ate Catman, Barry Tuckerman said. How Catman got eaten up by a cow, Tricia said. Mrs. Pigeon shook her head. She picked up her notebook. I wrote it down, she said. Beloved Catman is consumed by a cow. Just let me finish the story, Gooney Bird suggested. She went on with the end of the story. That night, the farmer and his wife turned on the TV and saw the interview with the little girl who rode in a flying carpet. If anybody finds my cat, the little girl said, it was Gooney Bird, please call the TV station. So Mr. Henry Scheidenhofen, the farmer, called. I have that cat here in my barn, he said, orange and white, no tail. But I gotta tell you, I don't think you'll be able to take it away. It won't leave my cow. Won't leave your cow, the TV lady said. She sounded puzzled. Nope, said the farmer. I wouldn't even leave for tuna fish. We had to take the tuna fish and put it right beside the cow. Why? Happens sometimes, the farmer explained. I guess you'd call it something like love. That cat is downright consumed by the cow. And is the cow consumed by the cat? The TV lady asked. Nope, the cow doesn't care one way or another, but she doesn't step on the cat. She's a careful cow. The TV people called Gooney Bird and her parents. They told him where Catman was and that Catman was consumed by a cow. So the Greene family drove their car back to the meadow and visited Catman. Catman was nice to them, but they could tell that he was not consumed by the Greene family. He was consumed only by the cow. So they kissed him, then they hugged and kissed the farmer and his wife, and they all sang Farmer in the Dell and danced in a circle on their tiptoes. They all lived happily ever after. The end. I love happy endings, said Kiko with a smile. Me too, Mrs. Pigeon said. Thank you, Gooney Bird. Now let's get out our arithmetic books now, class. Everyone in class groaned. I know, said Mrs. Pigeon, laughing. It's much more fun to listen to Gooney Bird stories, but we can look forward to tomorrow. She'll have another one tomorrow. Gooney Bird had gone back to her desk and had taken out her arithmetic book. She looked up in surprise. No, actually, I won't. That was my last story. The second graders, almost every one of them, called out, "No!" in very loud, sad voices. It sounded like a huge chorus singing a song called "No!" Mrs. Pigeon looked horrified. But Gooney Bird, we still have a lot of unanswered questions. Like what? Asked Gooney Bird. Well, let me think, Mrs. Pigeon frowned. The false teeth, Nicholas called. Yes, said Mrs. Pigeon. Why did your father have to pack 43 sets of false teeth? That's a story we haven't heard yet. Gooney Bird looked surprised. That's not a story. That simply requires a dictionary. You have one right there on your desk, Mrs. Pigeon. Mrs. Pigeon reached for the dictionary. Look up the word, Gooney Bird said. She pronounced the word very carefully. Prosthetodonist. ProsthodonTist. My goodness, Mrs. Pigeon read the definition. It's a special kind of dentist. He makes false teeth. Exactly, Gooney Bird said. That's what my father is. No story there. We want more stories, Gooney Bird, Barry Tuckerman said in a loud voice. As usual, he was standing up on one knee on his desk chair. Gooney Bird sighed impatiently. I need to do my arithmetic, she said. I'm not very good at subtraction yet. But all right, sit down, Barry. Close the dictionary, Mrs. Pigeon. I will tell you how to get stories. And that's the end of chapter 6. Ooh, I wonder what's going to come next.